next up in Chemical World Learning Intentions, number 2, we are going to have a look at chromatography. Now this is actually something you can do at home once mum and dad or whoever's at home with you guys are happy for you to do so, and it's quite beautiful to do as well. So we're going to look at what chromatography is, how to carry out an experiment, the theory behind it, and where we use it in real life. So chromatography is a method that we use to separate mixtures that are already in solution so that we can actually physically see them, okay? And this, as I said, is lovely because you can physically see the substance separate. So what happens? Well, a mixture, which is a liquid, so for example, if you've got markers, you could use markers to do this, or if you've got like Skittles or Smartie, dissolve the same colour in 1 or 2 mils of water and dab them onto the surface of a solid. In this case, be chromatography paper, but actually at home you can kind of do it quite loosely if you have like coffee filters, or sometimes it actually does work with kitchen towel. You know, the kitchen towel that we use to dry our hands or wipe down a surface. In some cases it can work this way. So if you dab it on, it'll separate when you put it in to a solvent. So how does it happen? Well, the solvent, in most cases we use water. If you're doing leaving cert chemistry, you'd use a variety of different solvents. But at junior cert or junior cycle, we only look at the solvent to be water. So you dip your piece of chromatography paper into a centimetre cubed of water, and slowly but surely the solvent, which is water, moves up the chromatography paper and starts to bring or carry the mixture, which is your ink or your dyes, with it. And it separates or pulls them out. It's kind of like a race. Some substances would move further and faster than other substances. So if we were to do this in school, this is our setup that we'd have. And again, you could use the glass at home, maybe a pencil instead of glass rod, instead of chromatography paper. You could use coffee filters, or you could use some kitchen towel. The one thing I will make you very aware of when you do this, okay, use just a tiny little bit of solvent in your cup, or in this case, the gas jar, and you would draw a pencil line about 2 centimetres up your paper. And this piece of paper with the pencil line on it needs to sit above the solvent level, so you're not dissolving it directly into the solvent. And you'd pop a dab or 2 of the mixture that you want to separate onto that pencil line. Now you'd walk away, leave it for 5-6 minutes, and you'd notice that with some inks and some dyes that there were separated parts of the mixture. Now, if you're using markers, my favourite ones are the brown markers to use or a black marker. Don't use Sharpies. Sharpies are an alcohol-based ink, therefore they won't separate out with water. So any of your normal colouring markers you could definitely do. Food dye, green works really, really well if you've got like food colouring at home. It might be an idea if, again, you're allowed to try this at home. Now, so let's have a quick look at the video on chromatography. Oh, excuse me. Now, so what we will be doing in this case is separating the ink of a marker. So this will be a wet erase marker, kind of like the ones that I'd use on the whiteboard in class. So in this case, they drew a line on the chromatography paper with the marker. I wouldn't recommend that. I'd use pencil. But notice when you've popped it into the water, what happens? As the water moves up the chromatography paper, it's carrying the ink with it and the ink is separating out. So in fact, black marker contains a mixture of various different coloured inks. So you can see a yellow in this case, you can see a red. It's actually kind of beautiful. Yeah, so if we just move on from that, this is something very simple that we could try at home. So if we look at this visual, if we had someone stealing my chocolate bar and they left a pen behind, if you notice on the left hand side at the crime scene, they left a pen and I separated it out and I tested people's pens. I could say that the second person were the person that stole my chocolate bar. Why? Because you can see that at each stage the ink lines are exactly the same. It couldn't be suspect 1 because the lines are different, nor suspect 3. Notice, guys, that if you use any of our primary colours, you won't get separation. Why? Because they're just one block colour. In some of our secondary colours, yes, when they're mixed together, you will. So because they're a mixture of 2 or more substances. So our yellow, our red and our blue don't tend to separate. Orange, purple and green, you may get some separation. And then our in-between colours, they would separate. So if we investigate what colours are present in different water-based markers, remember you have to use water-based and not Sharpies, because Sharpies are based on an alcohol solvent and water will not separate them out. So guys, that's everything with chromatography. If you get a chance, carry out the experiment, have a look, take photographs and send them to me.